Hi everybody, welcome to another Friday Technique video. I'm JL Holdsworth. We're here at the Spot Athletics, my facility in Columbus, Ohio. Today we're going to go over something that I find very simple, but I see messed up. I see training videos that colleges put out all the time, or personal training gyms, and they're messing it up. It seems simple because it's been around since the early 60s, 70s. You can see pictures from Zoovers, from the old Paul Anderson, squatting with chains. It's a very old and method for using accommodating resistance. Basically, as you stand up or bench press the bar, the chain links come off the ground, it gets heavier. Part of that accommodating resistance, one of the biggest pet peeves I have is that people hook the ends of the chains up to the bar. This absolutely drives me crazy. Doing this says to me, you have no clue what you're doing because there's not enough accommodating resistance for it to even matter. What I mean by that, here we have a basic chain setup and we're going to show you how to do that. But what I mean by that is people hook the end of the chain to the bar like this, which means that as you go down, only about 5 pounds comes off the chain, and as you go up, it's only plus and minus 5 pounds. It's really absolutely pointless, and if you have a trainer or a strength coach who's doing that, well, if you have a trainer, fire them. If you have a strength coach, send them this video. So when we talk about doing the chain setup, first thing we do is we have a spacer collar. We put the spacer collar on. What this does for us, this isn't to hold anything on, it's just simply to space so that the chains don't drag against your rack. All my racks in my main workout area, Elite FTS racks, are painted very beautifully. I do not want chains dragging up against them, screwing up the paint. So we put in our spacers to keep them off chains. Also, on the rack, if it gets too close to the rack, it seems freaky, but I've seen like a chain catch on a rack, like in a weird way, pull the bar. This is something you don't want. So we have the chasers. Then we have our leader chain. Our leader chain is a small chain that we hang from the bar. Now, on our leader chain, what we do is we put black tape. So we put black tape 5 from one end and 10 from one end. What that does is that allows us to do a quick change based on height. Now, not everybody is counting every single link up. We also do a 15 from the other end so that we can hook it up, 10 from the other end so we can hook up squatting. So we mark it in a lot of places so that we can set it up very easily and move from bench to squat and get our athletes to set things up quickly. So what we do when we set this up, we hook, it doesn't matter, Elite has all the carabiners, they're awesome. It's much better than just throwing the chain over there. Either way, what's important is that when the person unracks the bar in the squat and bench, or really deadlift, anything you're using, that one length is just on the ground. So you don't want to unrack the bar and have the whole chain on the ground again. There's no accommodating resistance with that. We want to have one link on the ground when we unrack it. So what we're going to do is we're going to have one of my guys, Luke Rose, we're going to have him unrack the bar, and we kind of show how that works. Now, when we're hooking this up, it's a little bit of trial and error because with height will change, with foot position will change. So as a coach, you're going to have to adjust that chain. Now, if you have 3 different lifters on one rack, then you want to adjust it so that the shortest person can have it. So the shortest person, they're all grouped together. The tallest people, they're all grouped together. That way, when you set the chains up, if you set them up and you use it, you're going to have to set it up for the tallest person in that group, because if not, when they unrack the bar, the chains are going to swing and they're not going to be on the ground, and it'll create a really destabilized environment. So the destabilized environment is okay if you're squatting very light, you're trying to work on some extra stabilization. But for the most part, when we use this, we're going to do some speed squats, work on some speed strength, strength speed. Either one. Also, we do it a lot with heavy weights. So if we're trying to work technique or very heavy weights, we don't want an unstable environment. So what we're going to do here to set this up, we have our black tape at 5. I know from working with Luke that he's going to be on the 6. So I set the leader chain up 6 from the end on this side. And then what I have to do, I have to make sure that this carabiner is set away from the carabiner that hooks the big chains up. Because if this carabiner gets on this carabiner, when he sits on the box, when it deloads, I've seen it happen where it's freaky, but one carabiner goes into the other and it detaches it. And trust me, it is not fun when the chains fly off the bar because your leader chain pops open. It's not a good experience. So here we have Luke. He's going to unrack the bar. If you notice, we're going to look at the chains on the far side. So as he unracks the bar and he backs up, we look at both of our chains. We have one chain link barely sitting on the floor. And that's ideally where we want to put that, is just one chain link on the floor. That's the perfect position for him to squat out of. That's going to give us the most accommodating resistance and going to provide stability. So go ahead, re-rack the bar, and now we're going to go to the bench press. So what we're going to do now is we're going to change these. The tape is going to help with the quick change. So just pull it off, take our spacer down. Then we have our chain. We unhook the carabiner, pull it up. We have our black tape spaced at 15 from the carabiner. Make sure that the carabiner is not by the other carabiner. So now, after Luke gets his, this tape helps with these changes. When you're working with big athlete groups, it's very important. The other thing that's really important as you get done is instead of trying to take the chains off while this is hooked up, take the leader chain off and either unhook the leader chain and pull it through or unhook this. But trying to undo all the bigger chains while it's set here is a recipe to pinch your fingers. So go ahead and unrack Luke. So Luke's gonna unrack the bench. Again, we'll see there'll be just one chain at the bottom when he's set up. So just one chain link, exactly like the squat. So as you see, when he goes down, the chain deloads quite a bit. Then when he comes up, it comes up. So this gives us optimal accommodating resistance. Rack. As you can see, hooking the chains up, it ain't rocket math. Okay, it's very simple, but there's some basic rules you need to follow. I think that this is something I see, really messed up a lot. So I want to do this technique video to let everybody know how it's done. Now, this is how to set them up. Obviously, there's a million different uses for them. But in general, when I see the videos of people at other facilities and they're squatting and it's hooked up from the end of the bar, I literally want to kill somebody. This stuff, I'm going to do another technique video on bands. Bands have been around for a long time as well, and people screw those, how to set them up. With all this stuff, bands and chains, people want to act like it's new and they want to come up with some new word for it, but it's been around forever. I just hope that everybody can see how to set them up. If you call it something different than bands and chains, then you're just half queer and you're trying to sell something. So, call it bands and chains, set them up properly, and do it like we show you, because this is the way it really should be done. Thanks, that's another Friday technique video. Keep the questions rolling in, the comments are great. Go to our website, spotathletics.com, like us on Facebook. Thanks, have a great weekend.